Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Grade 3 Royal Delta. Fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th card. It is race number 11. Let's take a look at this field. It is a big field. Remember the short stretch at Gulfstream with a mile and a 16th. Also a very short run going into the first turn, which could work against horses breaking on the outside. Mary Quite Contrary is one of the keys to this field, Mike, because she's certainly good enough and classy enough and fast enough to win this race. But does she want to go this far?
The distance is a real question. It's just one of those situations, Dan, where obviously she can win this race. The question is, how short a price do you really want to take on her?
We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. We're expecting a pretty solid pace in here. The number 4 Yuki's shown some Southern California speed in the past. She's a stakes winner in gate-to-wire fashion at Los Alamitos. The 5 Opus 42. It was nice to see her rate last time out. Maybe that's something new in the holster that she could utilize if the pace is fast. Liban is quick. She's going to have to work from an outside post.
The outside really works against Liban, and maybe it does force her hand, Dan, so she has to come out of there running. That could heat up the pace. I think the 4 can go forward. The 5 Tizzy in the Sky has plenty of speed and will probably want to be a part of this pace too. I won't be surprised if this pace is solid.
Soul of an Angel, the number 1's the kind of horse that would appreciate a fast pace. And maybe she needs a little bit of help because she's stepping up off a second level allowance win. It's a short field. She did some good things in here, Mike. You see, she's kind of got to squeeze her way on through in between horses. There wasn't a lot of pace for her to run at. They went 25-3 for the opening quarter. She's game to win. She just has to do a lot better against a lot tougher.
Yeah, it just feels like they're going to move her back up in class again, Dan. It just feels like a really, really tough race for her to try to win. I appreciate what she did last time. It was a great spot for her. She got the job done. 2 back. She was in against Opus 42, Magic Loot, and she, to me, just wasn't good enough that day. And those two, they're not the horses to beat here.
Mary Quite Contrary has won 7 of 10 starts at Gulfstream Park. She has never been off the board over this surface, but it's interesting that this will be the first time they'll stretch her out around 2 turns in her 14th lifetime outing. She looked good going the 1-turn mile in the Rampart 2 starts back. And here's her most recent start, the Inside Information, where she tried to rally well off the pace on Pegasus Day, I think it was. And it was kind of a day, Mike, where it was tough to make up a lot of ground.
It was. Maybe she was sort of against things here, but that's her running style, man. She doesn't have a lot of speed, especially when they sprint her. You know she's going to be at the back and have a lot of ground to make up, and she just couldn't do it here. She's only 3rd best in this race. To me, it's not a super sharp performance. When she won the Rampart 2 starts back, listen, she ran fine that day. She got a perfect trip.
Magical Loot is the number 3, a very lightly raced 4-year-old, capable of better. She's paired up 81 Beyer tops in her last 2 races, so she's going to have to take quite a step forward if she's going to compete against this tougher crew. And okay 3rd last time out in the Wayward Lass. I thought Opus 42 was best.
Me too. I don't think you could argue that Opus 42 wasn't best in that last race. This horse ran maybe deceptively well in there in her own right, though, Dan. I mean, just had to carry a long run all the way up the backstretch, all the way around the turn. She was still trying at the end of that race. I hate her running style, especially at Gulfstream Park, but that projected fast pace helps her.
Yuki is the number 4 and likely to be part of the pace, if not the outright pace setter. Gate-to-wire winner of the Dark Mirage at Los Alamitos, going a 2-turn mile 2 starts back, but then disaster at Delta Downs last time. Maybe she didn't care for the bull ring. She just was eased.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. I was like, maybe you just say, ship into that bull ring track at Delta Downs didn't really appeal to her, and that's why she didn't run. If that's the case, and that's fine. If you want to take that position with her, do you want to bet her off of any of her other races? I don't.
Especially off of a 3-month layoff in a race with several other speeds enter. Tizzy in the Sky is a solid runner for trainer Todd Pletcher, making her first start off about a 2.5-month layoff. Here she is last time out in the Grade 3 Go for Wand. She was wired this day by a very sharp horse in Dr. B, a horse that would come back to cut back in distance and run a quality second in the Interborough with an 86 Beyer in New York. It seems like this mare just continues to improve with each start.
Yeah, exactly. This was also her first start here that we're watching now on a wet track, Dan. It was also a day where speed was really in favor. And she does well to be clearly second best at the end. I don't mind this performance. I like her prior 2 starts quite a bit better. She has speed. She gets back out around 2 turns for Pletcher and Irad. She's a super dangerous horse in here.
Saffie Joseph entered 4 in this year's edition of the Royal Delta, including the 6. Honor D Lady, winner of the Remington Park Oaks 2 starts back. Thought she ran pretty well that day. Was on a real hard chase to go after a 5-2 shot on the turn, and then was just getting away from that field late. They tested her in the Cumley, going a mile and an eighth last time out at Aqueduct, and she was sort of hard ridden in a loose pocket on the backstretch and into the turn. This to me, though, Mike, I'm not sure if this is a strong finish or a mirage, because this pace I thought was falling apart.
Yeah, it does feel like it's coming back to her a little bit, especially when you watch the entire race, Dan, because your prior point's well taken. I mean, she was under a ride from a long way out in here. Very game to stay on here and get a piece of this purse, though, at the end. It's not a bad performance. Like you, I thought her Remington Park Oaks was a pretty solid performance. She did a lot of hard work that day.
And I think Saffie Joseph's found the magic potion for Honor D Lady, and that's dirt. She's good on synthetic, certainly. She's okay on turf. She seems best on dirt. Jose Ortiz will pick up the mount on Honor D Lady. Rosie Salo is also trained by Saffie Joseph. She's cross-entered at Laurel Park on Saturday. She was part of the pace in the Rampart last time out. Tired, maybe getting hung out wide that day didn't work for her.
I mean, maybe being outside is enough of an excuse, but that's not like that pace was blazing. I don't know, Dan. I didn't really like that performance. She's another one in here who, when I just started going through her prior races, didn't find one that made me want to bet her against this field.
Opus 42 was kind of sitting on a good race, because her start on the 38 Go-Go 2 starts back, you could make the excuse she was best. She broke from a tough outside post position at Laurel with a short run into the first turn. She had to rush to make the lead on the backstretch, and she got beat by a nice, solid Brittany Russell runner, Hybrid Eclipse. In the Wayward last time out, her first race since the 38 Go-Go, she rated a lot more comfortably in behind. She's got to alter course to the outside, and she puts in a good finish to beat 3 of these.
She's much the best in this race, even if the margin of victory doesn't spell that out there. She got herself into a little bit of a jackpot there in mid-stretch and gets outside and still closes it down under strong handling. She was way best in there. She was really good 2 starts back, even though she didn't win. She beat a really hot horse 3 starts back and Saddle Up Jesse. This horse is dangerous in here.
And also a bit pace adaptable, so she's interesting for Arnaud de la Cour. Imanra, another Saffie Joseph trained runner, is up next. She placed in the Iowa Oaks around 2 turns last year. I still think the jury's still out as to whether she's better going a 1-turn mile than 2 turns. She ran second to Mary Quite Contrary last time out in the Rampart. It was her first race off with a layoff. I didn't see much of an excuse other than the layoff. Maybe it was just a fitness building effort.
Yeah, it could have been. Maybe she just needed that race. They'll stretch her out a little bit more here. She does have the speed to get forward and into a really good trip in this race. And I think you just have to respect the fact that she's still lightly raced with some upside there. I mean, she moves forward one more time in here, she could be right there at the end.
Stablemate Liban is the number 10. She had a 3-race win streak snapped in the Wayward last, the race we showed you with Opus 42. And she made the lead that day, as she'd done in her prior starts. She just couldn't maintain it to the wire. I wonder if maybe she just found that step up in class a little too tough at this point.
It's kind of the way that it looked when you watch the race back. I mean, it didn't seem like she had a big excuse there. She just couldn't shake that field off around the final turn and through the stretch. And then she got a little bit tired at the end. She didn't run poorly, Dan, but she'll have to run better than that in this spot.
And here's a horse that could fall through the cracks simply because she's breaking from post position 11. Nostalgic has shown plenty of ability in her career. She was a graded stakes winner as a 3-year-old in the Gazelle. And you look at her break through her last few lines, I think you can find plenty of excuses. The Belle Dame, she was in against a hot horse and randomized who just got good the second half of 2023. The Chaluki, she faced another runaway free. Cotton Sultry just got to the front and dominated. And last time out in the Rampart, there just didn't seem like there was a lot of pace for her, and she was hung out wide.
No, she took all the worst of it in the Rampart last time. I mean, when you go back and watch that race and compare the trip that she got to the trip that Mary Quite Contrary got, I mean, opinions will obviously vary, Dan. To me, it's a no-brainer. You want Nostalgic out of that race, and you don't want Mary Quite Contrary. But we'll see, because, post 11 sort of throws another little obstacle in her way here. She's going to need to work out a trip if she gets one. I'm not so sure she isn't the best horse in this race, Dan. She just needs to work something out from the outside here. And I agree with you, though. I think she's dirtied up on the way into this. And so maybe that leads to a fair price.
And she might actually be the best horse in this race around 2 turns, as turning the tables on Mary Quite Contrary. So Nostalgic, very interesting for the great Bill Mott. Let's take a look at our top selections. You're going with nostalgic. She does have plenty of back races. I think you can make excuses for her last few. And listen, it's all about getting your price and hoping
Yeah.
for a trip.
Wait and see what kind of price she is again. I don't know how they're going to bet this race, but at the right price, I could certainly take a shot with her in here, despite the outside post. If she takes too much money in here, I don't know. I'm sort of torn between the 5 and the 8.
I'm an Amanra fan. I'm concerned that maybe she'll be too close to a very fast pace because I'm concerned about a mile and a 16th for her as well. But I've always admired her consistency, and I think Saffie Joseph is using that last start as maybe a stepping stone, her first off a long layoff. 11,586 for Mike, 9,265 for me. Fun edition, good betting race. The Grade 3 Royal Delta at Gulfstream on Saturday. Good luck.